Welcome to the KZGN News. Today we'll bring you news from Sacramento, news about the Iran nuclear deal, today's KZGN Talking Points editorial, and much more.
From the Rademacher Hills to Bee Mountain and the mighty Sierras, Ridgecrest to Inyokern and China Lake, this is your news for the Indian Wells Valley with the KZGN News crew.
Hello, I'm Tom Whitnick. Thanks for joining us for the news affecting Ridgecrest and the Indian Wells Valley. California is passing a law allowing people to commit suicide. For years, people in California have fought to afford terminally ill patients the right to end their lives with a doctor's assistance. State lawmakers and the governor may be on the verge of granting the dying that authority. On Wednesday, the Assembly passed a bill that would allow physicians to prescribe life-ending drugs to the terminally sick. The End of Life Option Act, which the Catholic Church and others oppose, awaits final approval by the Senate. The Senate passed a similar bill by a thin margin 3 months ago. No one knows if the Governor Brown will sign the law. Governor Jerry Brown, a former Jesuit seminary student, has not made any comments about the bill yet. Brown has expressed concern about it based on more legislative procedure than his own beliefs. Assemblyman Luis Alejo, Democrat out of Watsonville, said the bill would allow a peaceful and dignified end to suffering. Alejo choked with emotion as he talked about his father, a Vietnam veteran who is in pain from terminal bone cancer and wants to make his own decisions about the end of his life. Respect his choices, Alejo said. Assemblywoman Cheryl Brown, Democrat out of Rialto, opposes the measure, arguing that doctors may be too hasty in declaring patients terminally ill. She told lawmakers about her son, who was near death with an infection. Physicians urged her to let him go, and she refused. 19 days later, he came off life support and is now a husband and a father. Doctors don't know everything, Brown said. So now it goes to the Senate for final approval before going to Governor Brown. And here's some real interesting news out of Washington concerning the Obama-Iran nuclear deal. It is being reported that the Congress does not have to review the deal until the entire agreement is provided for their consideration. It is commonly reported that the deal has many hidden side deals between the parties. Yet the Obama administration has not provided those terms of the agreement to the Congress for consideration. One can only speculate as to why they would hide those very important details of the agreement. Further, the law being used as a basis to allow Congress review of the deal states that the Speaker of the House and the Senate Majority Leader have the authority to hold up any consideration until the entire bill is presented to the Congress. This comes on the heels of Iran's leader speaking out yesterday that there will be no more deals with the United States, Israel will be off the map in 25 years, and then Iran will bring death to the American Satans. Some of the presidential candidates are blasting the White House for this terrible deal. Some are saying the deal gives us nothing and allows Iran to move ahead with all their programs, plus awards them $150 billion to fund terrorism around the world. There was a protest rally yesterday in Washington. Speakers included Cruz, Trump, and many other dignitaries. Even the father from Duck Dynasty spoke, and spoke very well. It seems the anger is intensifying, as more and more details are coming about this deal. Obviously, the pressure is to get the whole deal released, and put pressure on Senate Democrats to withdraw their support of the deal. Now here's some events coming up that may be of interest to you. Tonight there will be a Human Trafficking Action Summit. It will be at the historic USO building at 230 West Ridgecrest Boulevard. The summit will feature an encore presentation of the powerful documentary film, A Trafficked Life, which explores the problem of human trafficking in the San Joaquin Valley. The film will be followed by a question and answer session with the film's director, Michael Fagan, Karen Stone, Director of Client Services at the Women's Center, and other guests to be announced. Human trafficking is a modern form of slavery, the trade of humans for commercial sexual activity and forced labor. It is thought to be one of the fastest growing activities of transnational criminal organizations. A global problem, human trafficking is present in many California cities and in the Valley. For more information, please call 760-977-7905 or visit www.touragainsttrafficking.org. And don't forget to plan on attending the September 11th Candlelight Vigil tomorrow evening. This is a 9/11 remembrance. It will be at the Ridgecrest Freedom Park at 7:30 p.m. with 1,000 flags blowing in the background. There will be a speaker. The event starts at dusk, so be early so you don't miss it. This event is put on by the Ridgecrest Exchange Club, and there is still time to visit the Remember the Fallen wall inside the Kerr-McGee Center as well. And then on Saturday, the day will be Free Day at the Matterago Museum. Entrance to the museum exhibit areas is free for everyone on the second Saturday of each month. Come in and explore the exhibits, art gallery, and our new museum gift shop. You'll be glad you did. Visit the Matarango Museum for free on Saturday. In a call for volunteers needed, the people coordinating the Veterans Stand Down need volunteer help on the day of the event. The event is just 2 weeks away, scheduled for Friday, September 25th. Last year, the event helped hundreds of veterans get help for services they need. This year, over 60 care providers are participating in the event. The sheer size of the event and the number of people coming requires a lot of volunteer help. They need more help. If you're willing to take just a little time to come and help with the veteran event, they need you. To volunteer, call Nick or Carol Coy right away. They can be reached at 760-608-1484 or 760-608-9251. Calling all chefs, calling all chefs. The Historical Society of the Upper Mojave Desert is looking for chili fanatics to show off their culinary skills at the historic USO Building's 70th anniversary Chili Throwdown to be held on Saturday, October 3rd from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Churches, schools, fraternal organizations, clubs, and individuals should call resident chili master Andrew Sound at 760-608-7296. Call no later than Saturday, September 19th to reserve a spot in the competition. Tickets for this tasty event are on sale at their gift shop for only $10 per guest. Of course, chefs are admitted free. Now it's time for the 76th KZGN News Talking Points editorial. Here's today's topic. What does fair and balanced in news mean to you? But first, some comments from Tuesday's editorial titled, Why Does This Administration Enforce Some Laws and Ignore Others? Ethan felt I wasn't being fair and balanced in my editorial. After he posted a few articles giving reference to other administrations doing just what Obama's administration is doing, he posted this. It's kind of lengthy, but I post the whole comment because last time, due to time constraints, I didn't have the time to include all his comment. Ethan wrote, and let us not ignore the most recent Republican administration who picked and chose what laws they wanted to enforce and which ones they would not. Now, I am in no way excusing the current administration. Let me say that again. I am not excusing this current administration. Any president, regardless of party, should be expected to uphold and enforce the laws of this land. As I have said, I will keep saying over and over again, be fair and balanced in your research and editorials. If you want your word to be taken seriously, you must be willing to critique and call out those more closely resembling your personal thought instead of always reserving your outrage for the other side. To do anything less diminishes your credibility as an objective news person. How can you be trusted to tell the truth when your political narrative is so visible? You may ultimately say you do call out conservative politicians, but I somehow miss that fair and balanced portion in this particular editorial. Well, that was Ethan's complete statement. In it, he is accusing me of not being fair and balanced. My reply to him on the Facebook discussion group was as follows. Thanks for the postings. By your postings, you again think I'm not being fair. My statement. I object to any president that purposely issues executive orders to change a law because a previous president may have used them wrongly does not make it okay for the current president to use them wrongly. If Bush and other presidents before him did wrong, it does not make it okay now. If someone does 50 miles an hour in a 25-mile-per-hour zone and get away with it, it does not make it okay for the next guy to do 50 in a 25 zone. For clarification, my editorial has to do with enforcement of laws that are in place. Laws determined legal and enforceable, and state and county elected officials blatantly ignore and refuse to enforce the law with blessings from the top by the White House officials based on ideology. So that was my response to Ethan. And Susie posted an error that I made in the actual editorial. Susie said, Kim Davis is a county clerk, not a city clerk, making $80,000 per year. Well, thanks for that correction, Susie. So Ethan's comments gave me today's topic. Here's today's editorial. What does fair and balanced in news mean to you? Well, today's comments from Ethan generated this topic. Let's talk about fair and balanced reporting. But as a point of reference, to do an editorial, most of the time I do these editorials the morning of the show. This is to make sure the editorials are relevant to what is happening right now. So I literally have about 2 hours to write the editorial, with no going back later and changing it. There are really two scenarios that have to be considered. The first being if the report is billed as a news story, and the second is if the report is labeled as an editorial or opinion story. The rules are different for those two scenarios. If what I'm saying is part of a regular news segment, then I have a duty to report the facts on both sides of the issue. And I try and do that. However, if the story is political in nature, especially from state or federal level, I have a hard time finding anyone with an opposing comment. I'll Google search for comments, but often cannot find opposing views. I do try, but often there is nothing I can get. But I have done news stories where I have included both sides of a controversial issue. My earlier story about assisted suicide in today's newscast had comments on both sides of the issue. Do reporters sometimes insert a little slant into their news stories? Heck, read any newspaper in the country and you'll find examples of that happening sometimes. When it comes to editorial or opinion stories, I have more latitude to emphasize my opinion. That's why it's labeled editorial. I try and take something that is relevant to the day's events and hopefully encourage discussion of the topic by you and others. It is through discussion that solutions are brought about. To all of you watching this editorial or reading it later when it gets posted to the KZGN discussion group, I only have a certain amount of airtime allotted for these editorials. As a point of reference, these editorials are usually average about 1,000 words, filling about 3 minutes of airtime. That is not a lot of time. Again, just because I do not comment on a past person doing something I object to doesn't mean that I think it's okay. Since many of my editorials involve political issues, it's just impossible to start going back through history to cite all the others that may have done something wrong. There just isn't enough airtime to allow that. And finally, I repeat this comment. As this seems to be a big problem with some viewers, just because I may criticize a current official for wrongdoing, that does not mean I condone it for being done in the past. I am tired of many Obama supporters immediately deflecting any criticism of him by saying, Bush did it too. When everyone started criticizing Hillary for her email wrongdoing, her first response and her supporters' response was, well, Powell did it, so I can too. So what? I don't care if Washington or Lincoln did it. That doesn't mean it's okay for the current politicians to do it. If it's wrong, it's wrong. I don't have to include history of others doing it in every editorial criticizing the Obama administration. If their actions are wrong, they're wrong. It makes no difference if a predecessor did it too. Fair and balanced would only be appropriate when I might criticize someone doing something wrong now and excusing someone else doing the same thing now. In conclusion, fair and balanced applies to news reporting. Editorials allow me to express my opinion on issues. However, in the interest of fairness, I will bring back opposing views on the next segment if they are submitted. I have proven that I will even provide comments that criticize me. I have also posted correction provided to me if I made a mistake. I consider that being fair. I'm Tom Whitnick, and that's what I think. I'd like to know what you think. If you have any comments about this editorial or would like to discuss or recommend a topic, I'd like to hear from you. Please email them to info@kzgn.net. Now stay tuned for weather and sports after the break. Thanks for staying with us. Let's go to Keith for the weather.
Thank you, Tom. The National Weather Service is forecasting a risk of severe thunderstorms across parts of the Central Plains, mainly across Kansas and extreme portions of southern Nebraska and western Missouri. Temperatures across the nation: Carolinas came in 85, Georgia 76, Arkansas 80, Texas, northern part 77 degrees, New Mexico 67, and Los Angeles 79. For us here in the IWV, we have a hazardous weather warning with gusty winds and lightning possible for our forecast. Tonight, a 20% chance of isolated showers and thunderstorms, partly cloudy with a low around 75, east wind 5 miles per hour. On Friday, 20% chance of isolated showers and thunderstorms again, mostly sunny and hot with a high near 103, light and variable wind, east 5 to 10 miles per hour. Friday night, isolated showers and thunderstorms, partly cloudy with a low around 74, east wind 5 miles per hour. On Saturday, isolated showers and thunderstorms, mostly sunny and hot with a high near 104, northwest wind 5 miles per hour. Saturday night, isolated showers and thunderstorms. Mostly clear with a low around 75. West wind 5 to 10 miles per hour. On Sunday, mostly sunny with a high near 99. East wind 5 miles per hour. Sunday night, partly cloudy with a low around 72. South-southwest wind 5 miles per hour. And on Monday, high near 98. West-northwest wind 5 miles per hour. As a look at your forecast coming up this weekend. Now back to Tom and the rest of the KZGN News.
Thanks, Keith. Now let's go to Tom Heck with sports.
And a very pleasant Thursday afternoon to everyone. Let's talk about locally Burroughs football. Tomorrow night it'll be Burroughs and Garces, 7 o'clock over at the high school. If you can't get out there, you could tune in to 1240 a.m. KLOA, and we'll have the pregame at 6:45. Now tonight, Thursday night, Todd Mather will have his weekly show. You could tune in and get his comments from last Friday's game against Tehachapi, a 7-0 heartbreaking loss. And he'll talk about Garces tomorrow night, a rematch of last night. That's 7 o'clock over on 1240 a.m. KLOA tonight. All right, last night, the Angels finally won a game against the Dodgers. The Angels had actually lost 8 games in a row against their crosstown rivals, but last night they got a 3-2 victory. Now the Angels find themselves 5.5 games behind the Houston Astros with only about 2.5 weeks left of baseball season. Now they have a good chance for a wild card, however. They trail the Texas Rangers by 2.5 games for the last wild card position. But also in the mix, 2 games in front of them, are the Minnesota Twins. So you basically have those 3 teams fighting for that last wild card position. That's if the Astros can hang on. Now this weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, it'll be the Angels and the Houston Astros in a 3-game series in Anaheim. That is a huge series. Derek Richards pitched really well last night, struck out 11 batters, was up 2-1 into the 8th inning, but gave up the tying run. Chase Utley hit a game-tying double to tie the game, and then in the 8th inning, the Angels went ahead on what turned out to be a big error by right fielder Andrew Ethier, and the Dodgers went on to lose their first game of the 9 games. The Dodgers, though, well in front in their division in the National League West. The Dodgers lead the Giants, who lost again last night, 2-1 in Phoenix. Now, the lead is 8.5 games, and that pretty much is a comfortable lead. That should win it for the Dodgers. Where the Giants are just, when they fall apart, they fall apart. I mean, they fell apart. They just can't score runs to save their lives. All right, let's talk about the rest of baseball last night. Seattle did get the win against Texas. Texas, again, right now, only a couple games in front of the Angels for that wild card. The Indians remain alive, put it that way. They're 5 games back in that wild card. Tampa Bay, 5 games also back in the wild card. Okay, Minnesota, to keep ahead of the Angels, got a 3-2 victory in Kansas City last night in 13 innings. Now, over in the National League East, the Mets did it. They swept Washington all 3 games. The Mets went into Washington only 4 games in front. They win all 3 games. They're now 7 games comfortably in the lead. Matt Williams under a lot of hot water, the Nationals manager. 2 of those 3 games they lost, they blew leads going into the game into late innings. All right, St. Louis finally beats the Cubs. The Cubs won 2 of 3 from the Cardinals. Pittsburgh beat Cincinnati, so it's still 5.5 games, St. Louis over Pittsburgh. However, Pittsburgh and the Cubs have the lock for the wild card positions. All right, NCAA football, the rankings came out this week. Ohio State, TCU, Alabama, Baylor, Michigan State. Your top 5, USC is number 8. U.S. Open, Roger Federer wins in easy straight sets against Rolando Gasquet. He will advance to the semifinals. All right, today, Burroughs Frosh in action. They'll take on Garces here at home. And as I mentioned tonight, Todd Mather will have his show at 7 o'clock. Saracoso volleyball last night lost a very competitive 4-set match against Antelope Valley College. It was the first 2 went to Antelope Valley. Saracoso came back and won game number 3. Game number 2 was close, and Antelope Valley won. Game number 4 also very close. Saracoso led early, but Antelope Valley came back. Now Saracoso will hit the road this weekend. They'll go to San Diego to play in the Grossmont tournament. That's your sports for this Thursday. I'm Tom Heck for KZGN.
So that's the news for today. Office of KZGN-TV know you have a choice in what you watch for your news. We all thank you for choosing KZGN-TV Ridgecrest's only locally owned community TV station. Coming up next, Ridgecrest Talk.